It's time to take a look at the markets and see what's shaping up for us. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and the Christmas alphabet doesn't have 26 letters. It has 25 because there's no L. We're going to poke around the markets to see what's going on. SPY, QQQ, and IWM should not be discounted. And I'm also going to tell you in this video about my Patreon where you can see how I'm playing this market, and then also about my options course and Moomoo with the promotion that they have going on over there. In the meantime, I do want to get right into the chart, so I'm going to take that down and I'm going to put up this chart for you. And what we're looking at is SPY tracking the S&P 500 to see how we're doing so far. And yesterday actually wasn't too bad. We had a green day yesterday and actually a low long wick on this candle right here. So there's still some momentum going for us. It is coming down off of this overbought territory that we have on the RSI. Now, if we go out to the weekly charts on that to see what it looks like, on the weekly chart, which is that longer trend that we have, you can see that we're very much bullish and not quite overbought yet. So we actually have some room to the upside on this one. I have said in my previous videos that at some point in time, we will retest support, likely before we start to rally back up again. Right now, we're getting a bunch of sideways trading, which is good because that's another form of the market settling. So it is possible we don't retest support, but I still think that there's that time coming where we actually do retest support, and I still think that it could happen within the next week or so coming up for us. And wherever we find bottom at, or if we continue to trade sideways, I still think that we have a higher peak to go in 2023 as we get into December. Happy December 1st, by the way, and happy Friday to you. So let's move on from there. We're going to go over to the Qs, QQQ. And we're going to take a look to see how things have been going there. I'll type in the right amount of Qs this time, and we'll get the chart going here. So as I zoom in on this one, again, you see the same thing that you saw with SPY on QQQ. Red instead of what we had with the green there. And, well, what's going on here? And it's the Magnificent Seven stocks. When we look at those, they kind of had a rough patch yesterday going on, and they actually were the reason why, I should say, the main contributors as to the reason why we had this low that we put in. And some of those stocks did recover. Tesla not necessarily being one of those that had the best recovery that we could hope for. But I did say following the Cybertruck event that we could expect to see a sell, and that would be all about where we find support for Tesla. So while we're on the topic of that, let's stop over at Tesla's chart real quick and see what's going on. In the pre-market today, we are down at 235.69 as the recording of this video, which puts us right on the 50-day that we have. And staying up above the 50-day is a bullish thing. We want to see if we have it as support or resistance. And yesterday, I said as the day was shaping up that this support line that we have right here, this trend line that's going on, is those bottoms that we have. Breaking down below that could signal the end of that trend, a breakout of that trend to the downside. If the 50 holds, I think that we could easily return up above it. We want to watch breaking back up above these trend lines, especially this one coming down through here, which is part of a bearish channel that we see going on. So breaking out the top side of that would be bullish as well. And then this possible death cross moment that would be coming up, should we cross below the 50-day and should we cross below the 200-day, which would be very bearish for us. Breaking up above the top of this trend line here could help to cancel such a thing from happening. So it's something that we want to watch for, something that we want to let play out, and we'll see what ends up happening for Tesla. I think for right now, we have a very significant chance, especially with what I expect to be a very positive inflation report coming up in the next 2 weeks for us through CPI and PPI. I think that Tesla is going to have a very nice run up from this, and I do think that we'll possibly break out the top of this trend. But like I said, we're going to have to watch the technicals as they play out. It is possible we break down through the 50, then we have the 200 as support, which right now is about 224. Should we break down below that, check out where the bottom of this trend line is here. 200 is a psychological support for us. So if I put on another trend line, it would be about right here, is about that $200 mark, that I don't think that we would come down that far. But if we did, I think that we would have a very significant bounce, and I think it would be a very nice rally for us. And I'm going to play both sides of that as I see it play out. So let's move on from there. I said I would talk about IWM. So this one tracks the Russell 2000. And so for this one, not as great of a day as we saw recovery-wise for the S&P, but I will say where we closed is right at the 200-day. That is a bullish thing for the small cap stocks that we see in the pre-market right now. We are just about where we closed yesterday. So yesterday we closed at 179.66. In the pre-market, we're at 179.55. It is crucial as we watch this to see exactly where it closes. This white line coming across is a long-term historical support trend line that we have, and staying up above that is a bullish thing. So maybe we cross back down below that 200-day. The next thing that we want to catch on to, and if we're going to have that golden cross moment, by the way, here's the 50-day, which isn't quite close, but it is flattening out, and that's a good thing for us. If that turns bullish, that's a good thing. And with these price actions, if they stay elevated for us, we could see that moment where the small caps really start to catch up. And I think that this could be a significant opportunity in talks of something like a Santa rally for December. And so I actually have a call option play out on what we have here for the Russell 2000 for IWM, and I think that it's going to be something that pays off very well for us. Let me put this up here for you for just a moment, and then we'll get to some of the other things that I wanted to share with you. So here we go, Dr. Stock Patreon. If you want to see my buys and sells, they're at the Discord, available through the Patreon. You can find them over there. You can also find my Tesla stock price prediction and NVIDIA stock price prediction and earnings forecast for each of those companies at the Patreon, and my options course that's available as well. Go ahead and check that out. And then I also have the Moomoo app. What you can do, that's where I trade my options. You get 5.1% on your unused cash and up to 15 free stocks depending on your deposit level for that app using my link that's down in the description. All right, I'm going to bring that back down because I'm going to share with you what I'm really excited about. So let me put the charts back up. And in the Discord this morning, one of my members who follows Bitcoin happened to mention that we crossed. Let me zoom out on this one a lot. There we go. This is Bitcoin's price action against the US dollar. So what we have in US dollar denominations, right now we're trading at 38,462. So we broke the 38,000 mark. And so let's talk about what's good about this and what's maybe less good about this. What's good about this? We broke over this yellow line right here, which is right at about 38,000. And then this white resistance line that we have, this is the first time that we're up above that. We really want to see where that closes. What we want is for it to close up above these resistance line and up above this trend line that we have. That'll be very good for us. And then let me zoom out even more from there so we can see where the next resistance is. And 41,000, I think, is where we find that. And then we also have another trend line, which you can see that that trend line is now exceeding that 41,000 mark. And I do think, and these, by the way, are drawn from previous price action that we have on BTC since, well, going back quite a ways. So where do we really start popping off here for some of these higher trend lines? So October of 2020 and forward from there, I would say all the way up until we get to May of 2022, and then some of these lower ones that we have are drawn in the time since then. So we're getting back to those levels that we saw. So it's possible that we find these, based off this trend line that we had that was established all the way going back to May. We'll see if that is treated as resistance for us right around that 41,000, maybe a little bit above until we meet the top of this trend line that's up here. So that could be very good for Bitcoin. And I will say, for BTC, if you really want to play that one without playing Bitcoin itself, some of the miners are definitely ways to go. Marathon Digital is one of those that you can watch. And actually, let's put that chart up there real quick, and then I'll wrap up this video for you. There we go. So Mara has had a decent run going along with what we see in Bitcoin. And yesterday kind of sold off a little bit, but with BTC up in the pre-market, we're actually up here at pretty much where we had that opening value for Mara yesterday. So I think with Bitcoin going on a run, there actually is another play. There's still gains to be made with these if we're moving up to that $40,000 to $41,000 range for Bitcoin. So I would most definitely keep an eye on the miners. Pick your favorite miner. Mara's my favorite miner that's out there. My favorite way to play Bitcoin without actually directly playing Bitcoin is through those miners. So to wrap this thing up, where exactly do we see the market going from here? We could continue to trade sideways and then move up, or we could retest support and then move up from there. I do still think that we put in higher highs in December before this year's end. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that I'm right about that. I'm going to keep watching the technicals, see if it plays out how exactly I expect it to. And in the near term, we'll ride the waves that go along through it. And I'll just keep on adding to my long-term positions throughout. IWM, which is Russell 2000's ETF. I think that is one that's absolutely worth watching right now. Out of the three of them, I think that one has a lot of potential to give the biggest returns, but remember that also means the biggest risks that go along with it. I still think the SPY and the Qs are both going to have a decent end to the year, so we're going to have to watch that as it plays out. Bitcoin, I think, could be on that run that allows us to move up to that $40,000 to $41,000 level within the coming week or so. In the movement that it has, we actually have a little bit of a trend line right now, a minor trend line of resistance that we have to break up over. And so in the near term, if we go up to about 39,000, we can consider that broken. If that happens today or if that happens tomorrow, that is something that we want to keep an eye on, and we can play it through the Bitcoin mining companies that are in the market. Thank you guys for watching this. Check out the Patreon. Check out my Discord that's available through that Patreon. Come and talk with me and my community members. And then also don't forget about your free stocks from Moomoo. Both of those links are down in the description. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.